All right, welcome back to lesson 8, and this is part 2, and this one's going to be a little bit shorter video, but just remember we're going to be writing equation word problems, and you've already seen parts 1 and 2. We're going to refresh our goals. We're going to be able to read a word problem and define a variable and solve it, and then write the equation from the word problem and use the cube strategy to kind of help us organize it. So what we're going to take a look at here is what is this idea here of what is this concept of consecutive numbers. So what a consecutive number is really comes into play of numbers right after each other. So, or the next number, so, okay? So consecutive numbers, so an example might look like 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are all consecutive numbers. So when you think about consecutive numbers, it's a different style of writing the problem to work your way through. So to find a consecutive number problem, the let statements will always be the same based on these three setups. There's either consecutive, even consecutive, or odd consecutive. So these will really be your let statements. Let the numbers, first number, second number, third number, whatever it will be here. So have this in the back of your head. So if you think about consecutive numbers, the first number is going to be your first number, so n. So the second number will be, how did I get from 1 to 2? Well, I would add 1. And how would I get now, going back to that first number is n. How do I get from 1 to 3? Well, to get there, I go n plus 2. So in this, it will keep going on until however many numbers you need. Consecutive even numbers would be a little different. So an example for that would be 2, 4, 6. Okay, so again, that first number we're just going to say is n. Now, how do I get from this first number to the second number? Well, I'm going to go n plus 2. And then remembering that first number here is n, how do I get from 2 all the way to 6? Well, this time I'm going to add 4. And then let's use odd. Let's just use 9, 11, and 13. So that first number is going to be our n again. So how do we get from 9 to 11? That's what the question we look for. Well, add 2 and n plus 4. And it's the same setup. These two carry the same let statement setups. So now that we kind of have this under our belt, we can go ahead and take a look at these ideas. The sum of two consecutive numbers. So now we've only got 2, so we're going to have let x, okay? And then we go, okay, consecutive numbers, so it's not odd or even, so it's x plus 1. So first number and second number, okay? So those are our questions. So we know the sum of those, so we go, okay, it's add x plus 1 is equal to 123. Subtract 1 from both sides. I'm going to go ahead now, I'll combine at the same time. 2x is equal to 122. X, if I divide everything by 2 now, is going to give me 61. So x is equal to 61, and the next number past that, and then we're going to say the second number is 62. And there we go. There are our answers. I kind of like the consecutive number problems a little bit more. One of the keys to it, though, is making sure you find what type of consecutive sets you're going to look at. So two consecutive numbers. So we've got a first number, second number, and those will equal, first number is always, remember, your x. And then even number, remember, this is 2 instead of just 1. So it's a sum. So there's our key to that idea. So we're going to say, okay, so it's 2x plus 2 is equal to 54. Subtract 2. 2x is equal to 52. And that means I divide everything by 2. I get x is equal to 26. So, okay, my first number is 26. What's 26 plus 2? And that's 28. And those are our numbers, our first number and our second number. Now let's look at two consecutive odd numbers. So just to give us an example like that. All right, so we've got odd. So our first number again, our second number. Okay, so again, we get to use those fancy let statements we worked on a couple slides ago. So n and n plus 2. Okay, sum again. Okay, so it's 2n plus 2 is equal to 128. Subtract our 2. 2n is equal to 126. So now that we've kind of got that, we'll divide both by 2. and say, okay, so the answer is 63 for that one. So we're saying my first odd number is 63, my second odd number is 65. One of the things you can do is a real quick check. Are those numbers odd? And if the answers are yes, then you know you probably got a good shot at the answer. If they're not, you've made a mistake somewhere in one of your let statements. Okay. So now the difference here is we can keep going and go, okay, what about three numbers? Well, that doesn't change much beyond that. It just makes the equation a little longer. So we've got odd numbers. So our first number, our second number, and our third number. So we're going to come down here and go, okay. So n plus 2, and then n plus 4. Sometimes I just drop down and kind of add those up in my head and go, okay, n plus n is 3n. 2 plus 4 is 6. It's equal to 57. Subtract 6. 3n is equal to 51. And then when you do the division on this, n is equal to 17. So I know my first number is 17. Sorry, 12. That's not the same thing. Is 17. My second number is 17 plus 2 is 19. And my third number is 17 plus 4 is 21. And those are my three consecutive numbers. So this one is really the next step on the concept. So I'm going to walk you through this one. I don't have any for you guys to practice on your own on this one. I just want to kind of walk you through this one. This is a more real life example. So in cross country, a team score is determined by the place of each individual runner. That makes sense. For example, first place gets 1 point. 16th place will get 16 points. In the latest meet, boys cross country scored 55 points. If there were 5 runners on the team, each runner finished one after each other, so that we got consecutive right there. What places would they be in? So in this case, I've actually got 5 let statements. So we got let x, x plus 1, x plus 2, x plus 3, and x plus 4. So that gives us now, I guess, obviously the lowest amount of points wins in this kind of scenario. So we're saying how many x's? I've got 5 x's. 1 plus 2 is 3 plus 3 is 6 plus 4 is 10. So 5x plus 10 is equal to 55. Subtract 10. 5x is equal to 45. Divide by 5. And our first runner finished in 9th place. So 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th places. So these are the ideas behind it. Now you're ready to jump in and complete homework 8. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me.